Good afternoon, Don Brewer Scientist. This is Mr. Bebermeyer with our second installment of the COVID-19 stay-at-home science. Each week I'm uploading a new activity that you can do while you're at home, doing your stay-at-home, not the quarantine thing, but your social distancing. Something that you can do scientific with items that you have around your house. So today's activity I call layered liquids. And what you will need for layered liquids is you don't need this big white box that I have everything sitting on. I have it sitting on that so that you can more easily see the plastic cup. You'll need one of these. You will need some pancake syrup. This is just regular Publix brand. You'll need some kind of oil. This is canola oil. You could use corn oil, olive oil, whatever kind of oil you wanted to, vegetable oil, and some colored water. Okay, I chose red. Okay, just take some water, add a couple drops of food coloring, and whatever color the drops are, that's the color of water that you'll have. So the whole idea behind this stay-at-home science is these are things that you probably have around the house. And you can do science with things around the house. So you don't necessarily have to go get or purchase materials in order to do this. And I'm going to talk to you or explain some ways that you can go ahead and, if you wanted to make this your own, you could try adding some other liquids to it. But we'll get to that in a second. So the first thing you're going to want to do is start with an empty cup, and you're probably thinking, what are these things along the sides? These are jelly beans. I got 2 different colors, and then I've got 3 blueberries. Literally, I'm just grabbing whatever I could find. So if it's in my house, I'm using it. Anyhow, back to our cup. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to add some pancake syrup to the cup. Now, this demonstration or this experiment, you don't really need to worry about amounts. I'm just kind of pouring it until I get a nice level amount. Makes a decent layer. And there you can see, add a little more light to it might be more helpful. There we go. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to add is I'm going to add some corn oil, or actually canola oil I should say, and I'm going to pour the canola oil into the cup, and if you look at that, the canola oil has made a layer of oil above the pancake syrup. Look at that. They are not mixing. We'll get to the why of that in a second. And then I'm going to add my red colored water. I'm just going to pour some in there. And that looks good. And now look at what happened. It's still actually leveling out now. But you can see the pancake syrup. Adjust the light maybe a little bit more. You can see the pancake syrup. You can see the colored water and the oil. That's not the order I put them in. I did pancake syrup, oil, then the colored water. But if you look at it, the colored water has switched places with the oil. And the reason for that is the oil is less dense than the colored water. That's why oil always floats on the top of water, because it's less dense. Also, the oil and the water is less dense than the pancake syrup. Now, something I've always liked to do with this is take a couple objects and drop them in and see where they end up. So I'm going to, or see what the density is. So see where they end up and check that. So I've got a blueberry and a jelly bean. Now I don't have a gram balance or a pan balance, okay, or a scale or anything like that here, so I can't actually weigh these, but these feel about the same as far as their weight or their mass goes. So I'm going to drop the jelly bean in, and the jelly bean goes all the way down to the bottom. Okay, trying to turn it so maybe you can see it. I was hoping that the blue jelly bean would be easier to see. Okay, maybe you can see it there. All right. I'll drop in an orange one just to see if maybe the orange one's easier to see. I expect it to do the same thing. We'll drop it further back there, and you can see that the orange jelly bean is right there at the bottom. So you got the orange one, and then you got the blue one. Now I'm going to add the blueberry. Now I've done this with grapes before, and the grape, the grape is heavier than the jelly bean, but the grape will not drop to the bottom. It won't drop to the bottom because it's less dense. I don't know what the blueberry is going to do, so this is the first time for me too. And the blueberry did kind of what I thought it would do. If you look at it, you can see the blueberry is, let me turn it like this. Oh, that's a perfect shot. The blueberry is floating, kind of suspended. It's in the oil, but it's also working its way down slowly into the layer of colored water. Now you can see why I call this activity layered liquids. You've got your layer of pancake syrup. Above that you have your layer of colored water, and then on top of that finally you have your canola oil. Okay, the layer that's on the bottom is the most dense. Well, it sinks to the bottom of the cup. Okay, also we can look at these objects and we can tell that the blueberry is less dense than the jelly bean, because when we drop the blueberry in, it gets suspended in the red colored water while the jelly bean goes all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so that is the experiment, or that's the demonstration, I guess I should say, called layered liquids. Now if you wanted to make this your own, some different things you could do. Add other liquids around the house. I can tell you baby oil will arrange in there. It'll form its own layer. Milk will form its own layer. You could just experiment with a lot of different things. Experiment with different objects too. I bet a nerd, I was looking for a box of nerds to see if I could drop a nerd and see if it would go down to the bottom, because if I was guessing I would think that it would go down to the bottom. But it's just something you can do at home. You can keep your scientific brain sharp and give you some things to do without having to spend a lot of money. So once again, that's pancake syrup, canola oil, some colored water, some objects to put in the cup, and then finally there's your finished result. And turn it this way in case you didn't get a good shot before, and there you can see the blueberry and the jelly bean. So with that, I'll bid you farewell, and go ahead and post a flip grid and show us what you're doing. Show us what liquids you use and show us your take on this. Hope all is well. I'll see you tomorrow. Later.